So, it all happened on tonight out of all nights. I was bored, obviously contenting on what I thought I could do to waste time as I chatted with people in number SMWC. We had good times and we shared a few laughs together. Out of boredom, I decided to patrol the hacks of waiting to be moderated section. Seems like it had quite a bit. 33 if I could recall correctly. The first few hacks that when I sorted them by date that were a couple of really horrible ones with bad screenshots to boot. Naturally showed the hacks of the scenes that Senatrix makes currently on number SMWC. We were laughing on how bad some of them were, but when I got to a hack called Mario, just that, nothing more, nothing less. The description seemed quite odd, as if some Japanese hacker was trying to translate the original plot of the Super Mario World into English and failing horribly. I showed this to Kieran, and he started laughing at the description as it follows. As you about to play the role of Super Mario Plumber, verify that you, who are the beautiful Princess Salvador again, Bowser kidnapped the evil king, and it's your job to save her. This hack includes 6 levels of very long, I simply dismiss as someone trying to act Japanese and released a crappy hack with some edits, or that's what I thought it was at first. Curiosity got the best of me and I decided to download the hack, not knowing what I was in for, since the single screenshot of the hack was titled on the screen, but with nothing but letters of Mario from Super Mario World's title screen. I thought it was a little odd on how there were no dates or anything either, as the hackers usually place their names and on the dates on the titles to mark when the project started. So when I opened the hack, I was greeted by 2 different files. One called Free007014, an example text dot file, 27 KB in size, and an IPS file simply named Mario. For some odd reason, I wanted to see what the author of the hack had to say, but when I opened the hack in Notepad, there was nothing but an indistinguishable symbols and letters and punctuation, sort of like how you would open in a ROM text editor like Notepad. Seems like the author just completely copied this ROM to .text file form, though I could be wrong. Taking a closer look at the top of the .text file, mixed with the gibberish I found, the only thing looked English there was a piece of what I found. Out, find me, may you see. To be honest, I didn't really quite know what to make of this, and I thought it was just simply to waste some of my time by making some text in gibberish file. That I'm willing to bet no one will be able to make it sense of. I decided that because my interest was growing steadily, I would start looking through my horribly or disorganized file folder for a copy of the clean ROM, which I had downloaded a great deal of time before the events of tonight unfolded. I had an IPS patcher, and of course, the choice was for the job, Lunar IPS. So I decided to proceed to move the ROM and the IPS patcher onto the file with the hack. I then patched the ROM, not knowing what to expect, and I quickly hurried back to drag it to ZNSES to play with it. I thought it was to be a terrible form of the ROM image. I then noticed that on the boot up, that the author had taken the time to change the header of this hack. Instead of the usual Super Mario World you would normally see while booting up a ZSNES, it just had the letters Mario there. At this point, I gained a little hope, because normally people do horrible half-assed edits to the ROM, generally don't know enough to change the header file title. I thought I wasn't wasting my time with this. My good mood brightly lightened up slightly at the thought of seeing what the author had to offer in his interesting little hack. So the title screen loaded, and exactly like it, with the Super Mario World, except it was just Mario on the title, like I had mentioned earlier. Something else had grabbed my interest more so than the unusual absence of layer-free titles on screen. Mario's bright colored and happy palette seemed now, how can I put this, dull. It was once a violet-like red, was now seemingly gray with a slight red tint to it. And to be fair, his pants weren't really looking more gray than blue, too. I thought this was strange. I wondered why that he decided to give Mario such a dull palette, regardless of what it is and what his intentions were. I felt that this was something wrong. Not in the sense the palette was slightly bad, but that the hack was empty, like something had happened. Upon pressing start and selecting the new file, like a lot like the other countless Mario hacks I have played in the past, there was some sort of intro screen that basically described the entirety of the plot of the short of the paragraph that was just small enough to fit a black box. I began reading, and most of the part of the message stayed the same, but the only key factor was that this was an interesting. Apparently the main antagonist of this hack wasn't Bowser at all. It was Mario? The message read as follows. What the? This wasn't the original message from Super Mario World, I thought to myself. Normally I would think if anything of this and seen as how, over my nearly 2 years at SMW Central, I have played countless hacks and have seen many different intro messages, but this one really stuck out. And at this point, I definitely knew that something was odd about this hack. Upon seeing the letting the intro music play, I pressed the start button on my controller to finally go to the overworld and begin my journey to this unknown hack. Upon entering the overworld, everything seemed normal, the same old level paths and the same old music, but the level names were a bit different. Instead of Yoshi's house, it always had been at the time I've ever played Super Mario World, it was now just simply Yoshi's the house part was gone. I thought that this was strange. I began to lose hope in this hack, thinking it might be seemed like barely anything had changed at all from the original. I was hoping to see something new. Well, unlucky for me, I got my wish, and you'll see when you read on. I decided to enter the level out of curiosity. When I entered the whole house that was normally there was gone. There was no smoke, no fire, no little birdies, no more treehouse. All was just left was the message box. I decided to hit it. Upon opening the message, I expected it to be that was a replace that would seem to be like binary. Apparently it says notepad. At this point, I was on IRC, telling everyone about how the hack was starting to weird me out, which in itself yielded out some of the sarcastic responses. But hey, I expected it. Anyways, after this, my interest level of this hack skyrocketed, along with my paranoia, but oh boy, I was in for a fun surprise. So I decided to head left. Upon reaching it, before it was known as Yoshi's Island 1, the level was now labeled Never Come Back. Now I thought things were going to be like a Kazoo death trap, because generally what happened to people of their names in the Kazoo hacks is to make sure that the player doesn't go up there. To my surprise, it wasn't quite that way, although I do wish it had been. Upon entering level 105, I was greeted by an insanely loud clown car that sounded like Bowser's flying vehicle that makes it right before Peach falls out. Of course, with my headphones being moderately high, the sound scared the living shit out of me, which it should have happened because I've been so nervous beforehand. I decided that at this time it would be best to turn the volume of my headphones down, just so I don't get any more unpleasant surprises from that one. When I entered the level, other than the music, everything seemed to be the same, except for the fact that the little Koopa slides down to the largest wasn't there anymore, nor was the Banzine Bill. Well, the Dragon Coin was still there. However, for some reason I wasn't able to collect it. or rather any dragon coins at all. The offer made us certain of that I also noticed that there was a brown used block near that spot where the Barzani bill would normally shows up. I could only assume that this was a revisited to the level after I had beaten it, like it's some sort of half-access creepy stories in the Mario games. Now I was wondering why things were like this, making me wonder into the message. Had Mario done something previously to Dinosaur Land? Was this Bowser's point of view? I quickly dismissed it as a later option, but it seemed like kind of stupid. So that left me thinking that Mario at one point in time in the offer story did something about what? What Mario do? My mind was nothing about it, rushing through my thoughts at this point. However, I quickly dismissed them and ventured further into the level, only to find that all blocks had basically been hit. The coins had been collected, save dragon coins, and they were still there, but unobtainable. And that there were no enemies, and that I could no longer go down the pipes. What kind of bullshit am I playing here? I kept talking to myself. At this point, I felt uncomfortable. I decided to keep venturing. Eventually, I came across a message box, I wasn't surprised because I was still in the level. Being the idiot that I am, I hit the box. Upon hitting it, I was greeted with the familiar black box once again. The message was edited, obviously, as I had figured out that this was a given at this point, and it reads as it follows. Now, I have thought things were starting to get a vibe that the offer was twisted and warped individual, and that I was right about Mario having done something. At this point, I was basically rushing to get to the end of the level, so I scurried by, and then when I came across another message, however, this one box was blank with the point of view advice at the top of with nothing else in it. I quickly disregarded it and headed off further to the right, hoping to free myself from the hell that I was once in level 105. Upon reaching the end, I saw the fire tower and look up at the block where the four-way block intersection used to be. However, it was too high for me to reach by normal means, so I continued onward, like a blind, curious idiot that I would do. So I finally beat the level as usual, as the path to Yellowstone Switch Palace was unlocked. I decided to head up that path, and that normally leads to the Yellow Switch Palace. I found out when I entered the main overworld. Every land mass and every decoration besides the ghost from ghost houses and Yoshi's Island itself were gone. Nothing really had changed at the Yellow Switch Palace except for the Switch message. All that was changed was Switch Palace was changed to Mario World. Boring anyways. Just when I thought I was done with this abomination, it calls itself a hack. I found out that Yoshi's Island 2 had also been called Oh Joy, I thought to myself. Sarcasm. Upon reaching Yoshi's Island 2, I found out that it had been renamed to Yoshi's House, the original name of 104. I decided that to enter and find the palette of the level I had been to. It had been changed along with the background. They seemed to have changed the same palette as Yoshi's Island 3. You know, the greenish tan and such, except for the background that was pushed down to some sort of now was rotting brown color, and that the vegetarian on the FG was now no longer present. I decided to explore the level a bit and came across down the trail of Koopas that countless players might have used the shell to rack free with one upswift. I decided to ignore them and go down to see if any more of the level had changed. I eventually came across the question mark that holds Yoshi and when you decide to free him. Upon freeing him, I got this message. Now, this had me wondering what kind of a sick and twisted tack I was playing. I have thought of this all of my possible scenarios of Mario attacking Dinosaur Land horribly had caused some irreversible damage. The offer had some me hooked onto some sick little game, like any other for idiot. I took the bait and kept turning back for more. Somewhere but not far from Yoshi, block, I found a message, and it had the same as I remember where it always had been through. But if I learned anything at all from playing this, that says whatever had to be the message box. Message wasn't going to be remotely normal, not even the slightest. This made me hesitant to hit it, but when I ended up doing so anyways, I wanted to find out more. The message I was greeted as it follows. But is there anything I can do to change your mind? What the hell, I thought to myself. What the hell does this even mean? Change my mind? What would I change my mind about anyways? Was this about Mario of something he never did? Was that about how people were trying to convince him to stop? Was Yoshi trying to take over the message boxes? Or was it about me? About me playing the hack? Asking me if the hack was trying to talk to me through the messages either. Either way, whatever it was more of a backstory, but on Mario had done, or if it was questioning my decision to keep going. I decided to keep progressing, despite the obvious signs that I should have quit playing the hack a while ago. As I progressed further, I found out that I was right. All the vegetarian was now gone. Nothing was left at all. I have a few enemies like chucks and moles and such. Even the pipes were gone. I came across another message box. Like the other times before, I decided to hit it. I was greeted yet with another cryptic message. Is this the selfish way out? What the hell? Was he calling me selfish for continuing to play the hack despite the warnings? Had Mario had done something selfish decision to only be benefited with him? Was Yoshi still trying to talk to me? What the hell was this guy even trying to tell me? At this point, I was creeped out so much to the point where I was shaking slightly. A mix of anticipation, fear, and the fact that my room was terribly cold last night. I closed the message box and once again proceeded further. The area seemed, with moles seemed the same, except for the fact that the block the next day with the vine block was gone, along with the happy clouds and dragon coin vine allowed access to. This made me feel gloomy, to say the least. Not even such frightened as I was depressed. It was the feeling that I couldn't really explain it well. From this point on, it was basically just big and empty stretch of land just to the end of the level. I proceeded quickly and I wanted to get the hell out of there. I felt as if I spent enough time looking around. So me and Yoshi, I still had him at the time, opened up the next path and to the overworld, and it was 2 had changed. It was once Yoshi's Island 3, now reads Yoshi's Island 7. Memories of Super Bido World flooded back to my mind, as how the levels would take you into giant leaps in numbers and order, which made seem ridiculous, although at this time, I didn't quite find it as humorous. Due to the common sense and obvious reasons explained earlier, I entered the level. As I entered, I was welcomed by a solid black background and a blue and gray colored floor, and the place seemed frozen, lifeless and barren. There was also nothing in the level at all to save the goal point. Just to clear a stretch of land, there was nothing else at all. I quickly lost interest and finished the level. This was when it seemed like the most empty and creepy level in the game. As you'll read it on, it far gets worse. Within the level beaten, a new path opened up. Yoshi's Island 4 was now just leave now. I even hesitated whether I should stop playing, but my interest kept me further. And at this point, number SMWC was nothing but posting findings and messages from the hack, so others would experience what I was experiencing. The channel, sadly, was unusually inactive. It seemed like no one really cared or wasn't around. I felt alone. I proceeded to the level. For the most part, everything seemed the same, save for the fact that there was no water at all to keep me from falling down pits without using Yoshi as a sacrifice. The level was so void of the enemies as well. Whenever I seemed to get to an area that seemed too far from me to jump, I found that I could just walk across the air, thus getting rid of the need to use Yoshi as a sacrifice. It's apparent that the hack wanted me to keep him. I could tell that much. I was able to get into that pipe that usually leads to the exit of the level. I went in and found out the room was exactly the same. Everything in the right place, was nothing edited, or so I thought. The message was once again broke the mood of that brief moment of relief I had gained upon entering the pipe. At this point I was questioning myself whether I should keep going or see how it ends, or quit now. While I have a bit of common sense left, the message in the box was sort of indistinguishable. I couldn't really make a sense of it. For a moment, I tried to figure out what the box meant. Everything I just gave up and left the beat the best level. I figured that the box wasn't worth my time anyways. With the level beaten, the path to the world cassette castle opened, now renamed Iggy's Castle to One Go Back. I felt that I was welcome here. Sarcasm. I decided to completely ignore the level name, and I just wanted to get it over with and be done with it forever. What seemed like really a normal castle intro was made especially creepy, given the fact that I had to dismount Yoshi, and I felt that for the first time I was actually abandoning him. I wish I had taken him with me. Inside the room of the castle looked strange. There was a darkish bluish greenish black lava on the ceiling, and there were gold points too that looked like pillars. Aside from that there to each next pillar, there was an increasing amount of box messages to each pillar further I got. The room was basically a big hallway with no enemies or anything of some sort. Every message I pressed gave me another blank box with Yoshi's signature at the bottom of each box that follows. Another cryptic message, although at this point I wasn't surprised, not even the slightest. Yet again, the thoughts of my head started circling, wondering what exactly Mario done, why was he here, and what was everything seemed to hate everything about him, and wanting him gone forever. I was feeling more depressed than scared at this point, to be honest. I had no idea what to expect next. I proceeded down the long hallway, checking the messages filled with nothing but the same two messages over and over again. It's like they were telling me to stop playing or do something, obviously. I ignored them and kept going. I eventually reached the end of the hallway. There was a door that which I entered, which I was welcomed by nothing but small section of land at that. But of course, there was the audio scrolling, which I thought this had to be the end, so that the author wanted me to jump into the pit and take my own life or something, thus ending my journey. I was wrong. The audio scrolled me down over the ledge, and I was still walking, unfortunately. The whole level was nothing but a long stretch of invisible land, and another piece of land just big enough for a boss door to fit. The audio scroll came to a stop, and I prepared for the worst. I have gathered my composure, swallowed some spit in my mouth, and I took a deep breath. I entered. Nothing but normal eggy boss. I felt cheated in the way though. I was happy to think that it was finally over. I defeated Iggy with 2 jumps with effortlessly, which was actually the quickest I have ever beaten him before. After he fell in the lava, the course was clear and the message popped up as usual. It ended and I was brought to the rescue egg scene, although instead of the usual message, it was shown something disturbing and vastly different, like a profile scene of a crime as it follows. "What the hell is wrong with this guy?" I said, as I read the disturbing message. I mean, it was a hack, but still. Who the hell is the victim? Why were their eyeballs gouged out, and why did it have those identifiable fingerprints that were just found on the other body? Was it Mario's doing? Was this the author trying to tell me? And furthermore, was this girl Princess Toadstool? It took me a while to read the message correctly. It proceeded outwards, although I was wondering what would happen next. Since the main map was completely gone, there was no trace of it anywhere. To my surprise, it still showed the path marked for Donut Plains. As the titles, everything was there. There was markings on the path to the lone level. During the giant map was once the main world, and it could still be called Donut Plains 1. I thought they were finally done, but once more. But when I entered the level, I could see the previous times. I was once again wrong. Upon messaging, I saw two messages as it follows. There's no way out of here. Fly away. I found it quite strange about both two boxes were containing each other. One was telling me that there was no way out of this accursed hell, and the other was telling me that if I could fly away, I would be free. I thought that I saw no other feather or enemies to grab one with them. Was that telling me that I could ever rise up and go to heaven, or stay in hell forever? Allowing in or despair, should I even cape to proceed? And then this happens after this? The whole game like this? I began to create more thoughts in my head, trying to figure out the message boxes out, but to no avail. I proceeded to walk back to the right. I made a jump, but when I found I was stuck in the area, there was an invisible wall, and I thought I had hit a dead end. When I landed, I tried moving right again to see if there was any way to go on, when all of a sudden I heard the pipe sound, and I was making a pipe animation. Except there was no pipe present, so it looked quite odd. I was taken to the level with a black background, stone blocks all around the ground, and a small door. I was immediately given a mushroom to prevent me from entering it, so I proceeded further and see if there was anything else in the level. I found that the room was nothing but a long stretch of concrete blocks and doors that were too small for me to enter because of the mushroom I got. It's obvious that the author didn't want me to go through any of them, or I would have gotten the mushroom in the first place. As I proceeded, I found myself at the dead end. Since there was nothing left for me to look at, I tried to go right again. It worked. I went through the brick wall. It acted like a pipe, and the pipe animation looked like I was going into the darkness. I was then in a small room, with that what seemed to be like a pit and a wall. I jumped down to the pit, seeing how there was no other option, though I found myself at the bottom of the pit, was solid. I tried pressing down on the bunch of areas until I came across the pipe. Mario slowly did the pipe transition downwards off screen. Expecting another level, I waited, but there was no more, just a black screen. I was unable to continue, unable to pause or exit out of the level or move. There was nothing at all. This whole video game representation of death, a crash, Mario had died. After playing the game, I think I finally understand what was happening. I believe Mario was atoning for his actions and eventually being plummeled to hell that looked exactly like Yoshi's Island, where he was lost to the grip of death forever. I was finally done playing and was quite relieved about that. The nightmare was over, and activity on the Ark, I seemed to have gotten back up again. I quickly shared my tales with the rest of number SMWC and typed the documentation of it. If you feel daring enough, you can too witness the tale at first hand. Remember guys, it's only a hack. It can't hurt you, or can it? The hack then began at some sort of the kind of SMW Central, with of course gained a lot of attention, even if that site's just the founder of the administration, who immediately recognized the file, and that Adam took a mistook of the SMC, converted into text file due to its header. He tried converting it back into the JUD, but the result was barely viewable, an only recognizable part at the very top. Then he continued searching for Google for images, with the attempts of resolution, and for the second it struck him was relevant. Now this hack's novelty on and Super Mario World Central wore off, however, and it was removed from the hack database after being accepted for its first kind of hack. Maybe it's possible that it could still be there. And that, my little pretties, was Mario, a lost Super Mario game creepypasta, written by Adam. Now, my final thoughts on the story. I actually really like this creepypasta. I honestly found this one to be a really well-made creepypasta for what this story is. This is like an original creepypasta that I never expected to, come across. Like, I mean, I've actually seen a few narrations of this story, so I thought, you know what, I go ahead and do this. So, with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and wrap up, well, not wrap up the review, but I thought I would just go ahead and, explain my personal opinion on this story. Overall, it's a pretty interesting concept for a lost gaming pasta. I mean, excuse me, pardon me about that. I mean, making a lost gaming pasta is like not really the easiest thing to make. Like making a lost gaming pasta, with Mario. I've seen a couple Mario creepypastas that actually did pretty good. This one, in my opinion, actually seemed to be somewhat interesting with the whole concept of its own self. I mean, I could honestly see this being the case. It actually has a really good plot and has a pretty good interesting concept of what this is. Now, I never really was a fan of this story at the time, but now I actually really kind of like this story of how this story turns out to be. It had a pretty good concept for the story, and I honestly really like this. So, it's basically a Rome hack pasta by the user named Adam, which that's what I'm putting at, and it can be downloaded as the patch itself seemed to be interesting. Now, I really have to sit here right now as of, well, recent, the account has been disabled. But you can find the original thread there, and you can also download the link in thread. I mean, this is actually pretty one of the best classic Mario gaming pastas I've seen. I mean, I've seen a couple other Mario gaming pastas that did good, but some of them were cliched in that. Now the aftermath, I kind of just read a bit of it, not really too much, but I kind of read a bit of it just in case you guys are wondering. Now, this one, I think it's a good classic creepypasta, as I've seen Creepypasta narrated this one as well as a couple other ones. So, my personal opinion, it's a good story. It's a good gaming pasta. I mean, the grammar was good as well as the sentence structuring, the storyline. Everything about this was flat out amazing. It's a good classic Mario creepypasta, and it's on the Creepypasta Wiki, so it is worth to read. So you guys should go ahead and, take a look at this story if you haven't. And I mean, it's a great story. I love it. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It actually has a pretty good, well, concept for the story of its own self. So there's definitely that. My personal opinion, I kind of remember hearing this story at one point, but I really wasn't really into creepypastas back then. But this one, I mean, it's honestly scary and pretty well made. Like, I mean, this story was beautifully well written. So, Adam, you did a pretty good job with this story. I'm not gonna lie, buddy. You did fantastic. So, yeah, if you guys want to hear a good Mario pasta, then I recommend you check out this Mario pasta. It's on the regular Creepypasta Wiki. I mean, I've seen a lot of people narrate this story, so that's why I decided, hey, why not I give it a try at reading this? So, anyways, with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say this now. Like I'm gonna say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's beautifully well made. It's a classic Mario creepypasta. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into it, and I personally found this one to be amazing. It's pretty good, to be honest, and if you want to check it out, I recommend you guys go ahead and, check out this story. So, I guess with that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.